Pokémon Horizons is going through an insane ride at the moment, and as we get deeper into the story, new reveals keep popping up out of the woodwork. The gang have now come across one of the original Explorer members named Lystal, and let's just say that she dropped a bombshell about the lore of Lucius. Hey, what's going on guys, my name's Raph, and today, episode 75 of the Pokémon Horizons anime aired in Japan. This episode could be the biggest one yet, and it revealed something absolutely insane. Let's dive into the details. Firstly, we have today's episode. The episode focused on the history of the three explorers and how they all met. I love how both Lucius and Lystal first met, becoming friends and then adventuring together, with us learning how Lucius caught all of his 6 Pokémon. The mention of the Scarlet book and Terapagos was really fitting. Gibeon's introduction too was interesting, as before he became a crazy Donny, he seemed to be pretty down to earth. He also introduced a new Pokeball. Rakua is very much a paradise, and there are even legendary Pokemon that reside in it, such as Terrakion, the Eon Duo, and even the legendary birds. As we dive deeper into the story, we learn that Gibeon becomes obsessed with Rakua and Rakurium, wanting to capitalise onto it due to the effects it has. It's pretty cool how we got to see the shiny version of the Zygarde cells in this as well. The 6 heroes all working together trying to stop the massacre was heroic, but what really breaks our heart here is how Lucius ends up sacrificing himself to protect Lystal from being hurt from the Rakurium reaction. This was so sad to see. After everything we learned about the pair, I couldn't believe Lucius done this, but at the same time, Terapagos ended up using its stellar powers to also save her. Fam. This was just such an emotional moment. As the gang bid farewell to Lystal, Pagogo begins to cry. However, this is where the big internet moment happened. Liko caught Terapagos. I couldn't believe it. Honestly, it was such an incredible moment and very well fitting. To continue her family's legacy, Liko caught Terapagos and promised that she would help him reunite at Rakua in hopes of finding Lucius. This episode was a rollercoaster, full of incredible moments and emotions. I really liked it. There's still quite a lot to learn from this episode, so I'll talk more about this later, and when subs are out, I'll post my full review on Twitter, so if you haven't followed me on there already, then you already know what to do. Let's now talk about next week's episode. Episode 76 is titled Sonoha Sodayo. The summary states the following. Friede suggests Liko and the others meet up with someone called Sodayo, who can help them locate Entei. When they land on the savannah, they're immediately attacked by Farigiraf. But just then, Sodayo suddenly shows up. He introduces himself as a truthful Pokémon journalist, and is actually a former member of the Rising Volt Tacklers. Looking at the preview trailer, we can see the gang meeting Sodayo, and it seems the character has a lot of history with the Rising Volt Tacklers too. He also appears to be a photographer. I wonder if he was the one that took the photos of the gang. It seems like a pretty chilled episode, and I'm sure it will be a fun one, seeing as the Farigiraf plot is going to come into this as well. Okay, let's now talk about some details shown in the series that are starting to shape something very big to come. First up, we have Pagogo. Terapagos is slowly starting to become a hot topic in this series. As we dive into newer episodes, there appears to be even more revelations about this cutie. In episode 74, Liko and the gang end up meeting Lystal, Liko's great-great-grandmother, and the original trainer of Terapagos. A nice detail to come from this encounter was not only the fact that Liko and Diana got to meet a descendant of their family, but they also learned that Terapagos is Lystal's Pokemon. She calls Terapagos Pagogo. What is even more interesting is that Terapagos and the pendant are also shown in the same scene here. We have the pendant around Lystal's neck, and he is also present in his natural form. Both entities are the same Pokemon of Lystal, but from the past and the present. This indicates that Pagogo found himself with his version of the past, which is actually a paradox. Bro, this is mind-blowing fam. It's such a cool detail to learn as well, and we can clearly see how the anime made its own twist with this scene compared to the Scarlet and Violet DLC. Sticking on this topic, let's talk about the biggest event to be shown today, Liko's catching Terapagos. I still can't believe this happened. It was very well deserved though. We know that Liko is going to fulfill Lucius and her family's legacy, and I can't think of what more of a perfect moment to have this capture come into fruition. Maybe the opening was teasing this after all. I'm really looking forward to see how Liko can help Pagogo go into its terrestrial and stellar forms too. What more perfect timing. Something I noticed about the mist that surrounds Terapagos when it transformed into its stellar form. It's hard to tell if this was a good or bad thing, seeing as we know that the mist does enhance a Pokemon's power, but often making them go berserk. However, it seems Terapagos can handle this energy and can also cure Pokemon as shown with Spinal's Umbreon. Very interesting indeed, rude boy. Speaking of timing, let's talk about this segment here. Liko's grandmother Diana mentions how a year ago, her and Hamba met up again for the first time in ages. While Hamba had claimed to just want to go on adventures again, she had found out that he was actually after Liko's pendant. This is an event that happened months before and was mentioned back in episode 24. Liko mother's Lucia then reached out to Friede and the Rising Volt Tacklers to rescue Liko from Amethio, as shown in episode 1 and 2, and this is where we see Liko's own adventure start. This episode not only confirmed that it has been 1 year since Hamba and Diana met up, but also confirms that time is passing in this series, which is a pretty huge thing to discover. It begins to make you wonder if these characters are actually going to age up or change as the series progresses as well, alongside what other events and revelations can come forth. Now we have Gibeon. Seeing as the adventures of the explorers date back to 100 years ago, this pretty much gives us an understanding that this old brother is at that same age. He could be even older for all we know. Some interesting details to gather from episode 45 is that Gibeon mentions how the adventure isn't over acknowledging Lucius. After seeing the events unfold from today's episode, it clearly shows how selfish Gibeon is and that he's an absolute madman. Bro was trying to reap all of the Rakurian for himself. He's absolutely tapped. Also, one thing to consider is that when the Rakurian breaks, the mist has effects on surrounding materials on Pokemon. Seeing as Gibeon is supposedly intoxicated by this, the effects have played a part on him too, such as him now having pink hair and a much wider body. It's like he is going to explode if he's not careful, hence why he's in the chamber all the time surrounded by the mist to maintain himself. But yeah, there's something going on there with this guy for sure. Gibeon also revealed today a brand new Pokeball. This Pokeball houses his Shiny Zygarde and has a golden energy when revealing the Pokemon. Immediately, we all know what's going on here, right? Is this a Pokeball that will be shown in the Pokemon Legends Z-A game? We've seen the Legends Arceus Pokeball exist in the anime, so maybe this Pokeball will follow a similar pattern. It could be a nice tease for the games as well, especially seeing as Gibeon has a frickin' Zygarde to begin with. Shiny Zygarde cells look cool in the green coloration, and seeing as it appears that the cells were used to stop the Rakurian explosion, I wonder if this is why this Pokemon is stuck in its 10% form. Let's now chat about the Scarlet book. The Scarlet book has received quite a lot of focus throughout this series, and I initially started to think that with everything focusing on the past, maybe Koraidon could feature within this anime. We know that Lystal had read the Scarlet book, so I wonder if maybe we will learn about the secrets contained within it. Will we see Koraidon? Will the gang actually go to Area Zero like it's been hinted with Geeta? There's a lot of interesting plots that can unfold from this segment alone. Maybe the gang need Koraidon to help fight later on. Moving on, we now have Geeta. Geeta and the Pokemon League have seemingly been hinted from the opening, and whilst it seems the gang will challenge her, there appears to be a merchandise scan that could solidify this event. For those of you that are unaware, Pokemon merchandise tends to be one of the most reliable pieces that can hint towards leaked information and upcoming events in the Pokemon anime. Looking at this image, we can see that various Pokemon belong to the Paldea Elite 4 alongside a Glimmora, a Pokemon shown in this very frame with Geeta at the league. It could be that maybe Liko and the others will definitely be challenging Geeta in the future, and maybe this battle will be used as a plot point to kickstart Geeta taking the gang to Area Zero. Maybe Geeta wants to test their strength to see if they're up and suitable for the challenge. Also, we pretty much have confirmation now that Area Zero is not Rakua and that they're both separate. Let's now talk about Meowscarada. A new scan has appeared showing this Pokemon and the history of Liko's Sprigatito. Whilst I still think it's a bit early for this evolution to happen, I'm sure we can all tell that this evolution will definitely happen one day. There's a lot of merchandise that supports all of these starter Pokemon evolving into their final stage, and seeing their trainers develop alongside their Pokemon along the way, this is definitely going to become a canon event later on down the line. When though, we have no idea. Finally, we have Rayquaza. Shown throughout the series, we have seen how Lucius's Rayquaza appears to be shining aura around it, and many are starting to think that this could be Terra Energy, aka being a terrestrialized Pokemon. Comparing Rayquaza prior to the events that unfolded, we can clearly see that it doesn't have this shine. I wonder if this is going to be a hint that Terapagos gave some of its energy to Rayquaza. Both of them are really good friends from their interactions, and I think this maybe could have been a way for Rayquaza to maybe continue and survive without Lucius being around. Once again, another mystery has been added to the table. Pokémon Horizons is just a different kettle of fish. This series just keeps on delivering with its incredible narrative and plot twists. With Liko now owning Terapagos and the gang aware about the 3 explorers and their past, it makes you think how the future of the series will unfold. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Liko and the others can handle Rakua, and with Entei being the final 6 hero, I wonder what memories will be unlocked to complete this supposed puzzle. There's bound to be even more game-changing events to come very soon. Definitely be sure to tune into this series. Whilst I know some of you man aren't interested in it, maybe just give it a chance. You might end up enjoying it, and of course, subscribe for more Pokemon Horizons coverage and Pokemon anime content.